Thank you for joining us today and welcome back to WAMS Webinar Wednesdays. Today I'm joined by Eric Torres, Channel Development Manager at Datto, and today's topic is your secret weapon in your war against cybercrime. Now for those unfamiliar, I'll share a little about us. WAMS has been providing law firms and businesses with computer consulting and support services since '74. We keep our reputation for quality and service today by installing and proactively maintaining computer systems, as well as providing technology solutions for hundreds of law firms and businesses. If you have questions at any time during this presentation, feel free to type them in the designated chat box and we will address them during Q&A. So now I'm going to pass it over to Eric to tell you a little bit about Datto and dive into this presentation.
Great, thank you, Ashley, and thank you all for joining us. I am Eric Torres, Channel Development Manager with Datto. I've been with the company for about 5 years now, and my role in the company is to be one of the evangelists. I have I'm fortunate enough to be able to travel all over and meet with all different kinds of business owners and talking with them about Datto and more importantly, talking with them about their networks and their data and what's keeping them up at night and how we can help mitigate any security risks they may face through having a Datto solution. And that is exactly what we're doing here today. I'm taking a few different stories that I've picked up along the way and sharing it with you folks. A little bit about Datto. We are an MSP-centric business, meaning we only sell through the trusted partners that we have. For example, WAMS. They are the experts in their area for building and designing and maintaining these beautiful networks. Datto is simply one of the pieces they use to make sure that that data is always protected and always safe. We have 23 global locations and over 15,000 partners worldwide, but the most important number you'll see on the screen is it's over 500,000 small to medium-sized businesses are currently protected by the Datto solution. And today we're talking all about that Datto solution. So today we're talking about what people normally think backup is for. People normally think of backup as the what if scenarios. What if there's a fire or a flood, or if you're in the Midwest, a tornado. And typically throughout the years, that's what people have thought of when they think about protecting their business. The what if scenario. What if there's a natural disaster that hits my building? And I can share with you that the likelihood of these things bringing down your network is extremely slim to none. But there is one thing that happens to every single computer network, no matter how large, no matter how small, no matter how much the organization invests in the technology, and that is people. People do terrible things to networks. WAMS goes in and they design this beautiful network, and it is fast and it's moving exactly how it should be going. But then you unleash people on the network who start downloading the wrong programs, clicking on the wrong links, and that's what brings networks down. People are your greatest risk. So today we're going to be talking about some of those risks that are out there and how people introduce them to the network. So here's the first example that I have. If anybody happens to remember this gentleman, this is the gentleman that was in charge of the alerting system and the computer network for all of the Hawaiian Islands. If you remember a couple years back when they had that scare, he accidentally hit the button to alert all of the islands that there was a missile heading their way that they needed to take cover. And this alert went out on all of the radio waves, all of the television stations, everybody's cell phone was getting this alert. And I'm not pointing this up for the mistake he made of accidentally hitting that button. That's not the mistake. The mistake is this. As soon as I heard this story, I instantly started researching it. I wanted to find out who this person is and how a mistake like this could happen. So I actually found the gentleman, this one right here, and I went to his LinkedIn page. And this is his actual LinkedIn profile picture. And I'm looking at it and I'm zooming in. And if you zoom in, his password is actually taped to his monitor. Now this guy he knows better. He's in charge of this network. He's in charge of the alerting system and he's proud. He's sitting on his desk and that's the profile picture he used for LinkedIn. Yet he still takes his password and tapes it underneath his monitor. That's the type of thing that people do. Those are the kinds of risks that are out there that we know better, but they just happen. And bad guys take advantage of this. Back in the day, these bad guys were just somebody sitting in their parents' basement that were hacking into places just for the sake of hacking in and gaining notoriety. They would break into HBO and steal some movies and release them just so they can say, hey, that was me that I did it, and go into all the chat rooms and spread that information out. But then what happened maybe about 8-10 years ago is that these bad guys started organizing, and they started getting together and forming these criminal organizations because they started to figure out how to make money doing this. And that's what makes them incredibly dangerous. And when I say criminal organizations, it is exactly that. What we're seeing out there, these are full-blown companies that have different departments within the criminal organization. They have the coding department to write the bad code. They have the customer service department to help spread that message and return help people pay the ransom in the case of ransomware, help them set up Bitcoin accounts. That's what I'm talking about as far as organizing and becoming this large company, if you will. We know that ransomware is king. Last year alone, it's reported by the FBI that over 700 million was paid by small and medium-sized businesses in the US. And the fact is, I think this number is incredibly low. And here's the reasoning why, is because they only know what people report to them. And there are a ton of instances out there where somebody gets ransomware, and for the sake of trying to keep their company's reputation and name out of the news or away from their customers, they simply don't report it and they just pay it. And that's what we're seeing out there. So this 700 million last year, I predict it's 3, 4, even 5 times that what people actually are paying in ransomware. Ransomware is an absolute epidemic. And I have some of my favorite ransomware stories that I'd like to share with you, starting with this one. This is one that popped up a little while back, and as you can see, it tests our morality. And this one is absolutely pure evil genius. If anybody has happened to see the particular strain of ransomware called Popcorntime, this one is really nasty. So what this strain of ransomware does, if you get this, if you accidentally click on the wrong link in an email and introduce this strain of ransomware to your network, you're posed with a question. Do you pay the ransom, or you have the option of sending that ransomware to 2 of your friends, and if they pay for it, you'll get your data back for free. So what these bad guys are doing is they wrote the code. It worked. It was brilliant how it worked. But then they said, hey, let's not only just be the bad guy. Let's turn the victims into criminals themselves and saying, hey, if you spread this for us, we'll give you your data back for free. Now, people were actually doing this. They were put in that situation where they were saying, okay, do I pay the ransom, or do I just start sending this out? And what these bad guys did is they tracked it everywhere that this was going. And what they found is people were sending it all over the world. So they ran an update to the actual ransomware ask so that they could translate it into any single language. Again, the customer service department within that criminal organization trying to make it easier for the people that get attacked. Here's the next story I have. If anybody has heard of the Fatboy ransomware, this is a strain of ransomware that is based on the Big Mac index. If you're familiar with the Big Mac index, the Big Mac index is a real number that's tracked, and it's basically the cost of living. It's how much does a Big Mac cost in your city, in your town? So for example, Manhattan, Big Mac costs what, $5, $6 compared to little old Appleton, Wisconsin, where the cost of a Big Mac's maybe $3. Cost of living is different, cost of goods are different. So this particular strain of ransomware took that into account and was the first of its kind that was location aware. It changed the ransom ask based on where the victim lived. So going back to my example, if I attacked somebody in Appleton, Wisconsin, I'm going to ask a little bit less of a ransom ask because they're not used to paying that much for their goods. And I don't want them to say, whoa, that's too rich for my blood. I'm not going to pay that. versus somebody in Manhattan who is used to paying a lot for their goods and services. I'm going to ask a little bit more of them because they're used to paying more. Absolutely brilliant what this one does, but that's not it. About a week later, we found that it popped up on the dark web. Any one of us can go in, if you know how to log into the dark web, you can go into the dark web and actually start purchasing these types of ransomwares so that you can become the criminal yourself and join this criminal empire and start making these ill-gotten gains. So walking through the evolution of this ransomware, they wrote the code, it was brilliant in what it did, it was location aware, they decided to sell it, and essentially you have a product now. And what happens next when you have a product? You have to be able to support it. So about a week after that, it popped up over Jabber, which is an anonymous chat forum where you can then go in and talk to these criminals themselves and say, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me set up a Bitcoin account? Or how about, can you help me change the code? I want to attack the healthcare space. Can you change this to help me get past more healthcare firewalls and things like that, healthcare security? So this is what's happening out there. This is the evolution of ransomware and how far it is coming. Now, I also hear this. I already have a great backup solution. My data is already living in the cloud. I'm safe. It's somewhere else. It's not within my walls. It's living in a data center somewhere. That means it's perfectly fine. Well, that is exactly what the city of San Francisco thought. If you guys remember this story, a few years back, about 2 years back actually, they got attacked, and it hit their transit authority, and all of their kiosks to buy public fare tickets were instantly shut down. As you can see here, out of service everywhere. You were no longer able to buy tickets to ride the trains and ride the buses and however you purchase the tickets. And they had a full-blown IT staff, and they said, you know what, we're just going to restore from our backup solution. Let's just go get our data. It's living in a data center somewhere. Let's just go get it. As a result of that backup solution, and I'll explain the difference between backup and business continuity, as a result of having that simple backup solution of that data living in a data center, their network was down for 2 full days. And it wasn't just any 2 days, it was the Friday and Saturday after Thanksgiving, the 2 most heavily traveled days in San Francisco transit. These bad guys knew exactly when to attack and when was the exact right moment. And the transit authority on those two days provides 735,000 on average rides per day at a cost of the rider between $1 and $2.25. So you can see where I'm going with this as far as revenue. So total lost revenue, somewhere between 1.5 and 3.3 million. So roughly $3 million was lost just in revenue. That's just ticket sales. That doesn't take into account rebuilding the network, going and getting that data, forensic investigation to figure out how it happened and prevent it from happening again, and then all the overtime since people had to work on Thanksgiving weekend. All told, I'm guessing that this network outage of 2 days due to ransomware was probably closer to the $5 million mark. And coincidentally, the ransom ask for this particular case was only $30,000. Now, I advise nobody to actually pay the ransom. I think that's the right move, but that's the question that people are faced with. Downtime is so much more expensive, so you have to have a complete business continuity solution in place that says, if I go down, I need to get back up and running as quickly as possible. We know ransomware is running rampant. It's an absolute epidemic. We will never be able to stop it. You can have the best, most expensive security solutions in place. They're not going to be able to 100% keep things like this out. That's how good these bad guys are getting. So you have to have a solution in place that says, if it gets through, I'm still going to be okay. And that's where Datto comes in. Datto provides complete business continuity, and there is a huge difference between backup solutions and business continuity, and that's what we're going to be talking about the second half of this webinar. So this, in a nutshell, is the Datto solution, and I'll walk you through it. I'm a pictures guy. So you have your infrastructure on the left-hand part of your screen. You have your servers, your workstations, maybe you have a virtual infrastructure. That is what you work with from day to day. What we have is an appliance, either physical or virtual, a continuity device that sits on your network. Now, what this device does is it takes backup images as little as every 5 minutes of everything that's on your network, backing up the data all day long. Every 5 minutes, you can completely customize it. Some people back it up every hour, but you have the ability to back that data up as little as every 5 minutes, and it stores that data locally on that device, and then it replicates it to our primary offsite data center and then a secondary offsite data center. So at any moment in time, we have 4 copies of your data. The actual data on your left-hand side, the data in the middle on the physical or virtual continuity device, and then the data in 2 separate data centers, bi-coastal data centers, one on the east and one on the west. That's the Datto solution. We do have the most comprehensive business continuity and disaster recovery lineup in the world. We can protect networks of all sizes. It used to be that solutions like this were only available to large enterprise size organizations, and we have brought that now to companies of any size. Our solutions, starting with the one on the far left, those are solutions that could be used for a 2-person company. And then on up, we can scale to that enterprise size. The same exact technology, same exact solution that all of the large companies are using are available to companies of every single size. That's what Datto does. But that's not it. Datto also includes ransomware detection. And I want to be very clear, this is not ransomware prevention. This is not a security solution. You have wonderful security solutions through WAMS that that keep the bad guys out. This is detection that says if something gets past that security solution, if something gets past your firewall, you need to know about it quickly. And that's what Datto includes. So how does it work? Since we're taking those little snapshot images every 5 minutes, as little as every 5 minutes, we're able to run analytics and comparing one image from the one just prior to that. When your network gets infected with ransomware, almost instantly, all of your file names change and they become encrypted. And through our technology, we're able to see that in near real time and say, hey, there's a bunch of files that are suddenly changing names. Something is wrong. Second thing we do is we notify WAMS, red flag, hey, there's something going on between that last backup and the one 5 minutes ago. You may want to go over there and see what's going on. And not only that, we will let WAMS know to expedite the restore. This is the exact moment in time that you need to restore to. You need to go back to maybe it's 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago, and we will identify the exact moment before that ransomware hit the network. That is what ransomware detection is, all built into your business continuity solution. So don't think of backing up your data in the traditional sense of the matter that if something bad happens, like a natural disaster, and start thinking of continuity. If I go down, how quick can I get back up and running? So what is continuity? It's always easy for me to start with what is not continuity. Continuity is not having your data just living in a data center, much like San Francisco had, because they were still down for 2 days. They had to physically go to that data center, pull out their servers, bring them back to the office, and rebuild their entire network. That's not business continuity. A local only copy, obviously that's not business continuity if your data is only living within your building, because yes, what if a natural disaster does come through? What if my building does catch on fire? Including a tape backup. If anybody out there is still using tape, I've been saying this for years now, if you're still using magnetic tape to back up your critical business data, we've come so far in technology. That technology of magnetic tape was invented in 1928, and people are still using that same principle technology to back up their critical data, and there's so many better solutions that are out there. Same thing with a file-based backup solution. If you're just backing up your files, you're only backing up bits and pieces of your network rather than everything and having everything readily available. So what is continuity? Industry buzzword warning, because I hate using buzzwords. It's a hybrid cloud-based solution. That's just a fancy way of saying multiple copies of your data. As I mentioned, there's 4 copies of your data and there's multiple ways to access that data. It's an image-based backup, meaning we're backing up everything. We're backing up all of your files, your folders, your partitions, your software applications. We're backing up your operating systems. We're even backing up all of your kids' pictures, your desktop backgrounds, all of your shortcuts, because if you need that data, when you need that data, you want to be able to use that data exactly how you are used to using it, not using it without your shortcuts or without your desktop or without your applications. We deliver a superior recovery time objective, RTO, and recovery point objective, RPO. And I've got a great way of explaining that and a tool that you can use to further investigate your own RTO and RPO. But essentially what that is the cost of downtime. How much does downtime cost my business every single hour? How much money am I losing if my network is down? And we eliminate downtime through virtualization. This is what makes Datto's business continuity solution the best continuity solution that is out on the market. We are able to virtualize that data at a moment's notice. So continuity, got it. But how does it work? How does virtualization work? How does instant virtualization work? I'm a pictures guy. You're working, you're at your laptop, you're at your computer, and for whatever reason, you can no longer work. Maybe you spill a coffee on your laptop, or maybe you get ransomware. What we do through the Datto solution is we go to the Datto appliance on your network, or the Datto solution on your network, and we go and we spin up an exact same image of your workstation from 5 minutes before you spilled that coffee on your laptop, or 5 minutes before ransomware was introduced to the network. We spin up an exact same image of it so that you can work safely, again, with all of your applications, all of your shortcuts, all of your kids' pictures, all of the music that you have saved. It's all right there running virtually so that you can continue working. Benefits of instant virtualization, obviously it reduces downtime. That's the largest benefit. It helps with your cost of downtime. We bring down the overall cost every single time that you go down. And we can virtualize both from our local appliance or from the Datto data center. So in a situation where your server goes down, motherboard fries, network outage, what we do is we spin that up from the Datto appliance, and that Datto appliance becomes your new server. In the event that you lose the entire building, let's say there is a fire or a flood or an earthquake, what we do is we spin up your entire network from the Datto data center and then give you login. So you would have to, from a different workstation, obviously, you would just log in and say, okay, I want to access my shared drive. I want to access my email. That's exactly what Datto does through business continuity. Total data protection, that is what we do at Datto, and the speed of which that we can do this is faster than anybody else that's out there. I can bring back a workstation in about 10 seconds or less. A server, few minutes. Your entire network, imagine if your entire building burns to the ground and within an hour or so, we can bring everything right back and you can continue working. Your staff can continue working from a different location, obviously, but they can still have everything that they're used to using in regards to your network. That's total data protection, and that is true business continuity. Continuity for all of your data. I also want to throw this in there. We also protect your SAS data, your Office 365 and your G Suite data, because that's another thing that a lot of people seem to think that, well, I'm using Office 365, it's in Microsoft's data center, it's immune to being attacked. It's always going to be available for me. And the fact of the matter is it's just not. Everything is suspect to getting attacked. So why SAS Protection? Why do you need to back this data up as well? 1 in 3 companies are losing SAS data in one form or another. They're reporting, yes, I lost data through some of the SAS applications that I have been using. 47% of those are caused by end user deletions. Those are accidental deletions that maybe a user does and you're not aware of it. For example, on Microsoft, on the standard Microsoft plan for Office 365, they only keep that data for 30 days. So if you delete something and you're on their standard plan and you're not backing it up and you don't realize it until day 31, that data is gone. It's purged from the Microsoft data centers. It is no longer available to you. That's what we're seeing out there that is happening, and a real thing we need to pay attention to. The next stat that's a little troubling is 20% of data loss is caused by a malicious act. And what we're seeing out there is human nature. Somebody within your organization catches wind that they're about to get let go. What's one of the first things they start doing? They start going through their email and start dumping as much stuff as they have, because chances are they have personal emails in there, or we're doing something that caused them to get fired in the first place, and they don't want anybody to see that. So 20% of data loss is caused by some sort of malicious act. So your SaaS data is no different than your on-prem data. It's still vulnerable to ransomware. Have you heard of Ransom Cloud? This is the fastest growing malware attack that we at Datto are seeing, and it's exactly what you think of. It's ransomware that is attacking the Microsoft data centers, attacking your SaaS data, whether it's Microsoft or Google. I actually, a gentleman by the name of Kevin Mitnick, if anybody is familiar with him, Kevin Mitnick is a well-known hacker. In the 90s, he hacked into a lot of different companies, stole a lot of different data, and was actually on the FBI's most wanted list. And he got caught. And after he got caught, he spent some time in prison, a couple years, and then he got out and he started working with the government. And he said, here's exactly how I break into networks. Here's how you can protect people. And I saw him do this demonstration of how hackers infect Office 365 with ransomware. And I was able to take some screenshots from his presentation, and I have them here to show you as well. It's just how easy it is to deploy ransomware within Office 365. So here's an actual email to an Office 365 account, and it's a phishing email. It looks like it's from Microsoft. It has the logo. It's coming from Anti-Spam Pro. An end user receives this, and it asks them, do you want to update your anti-spam? Another pop-up window comes up saying, yeah, I want to run an update against my Office 365. I want to make sure I keep, as much spam out of my mailbox as possible. How many of us end users are going to blindly click on this? It looks exactly like every other Microsoft pop-up that comes up for updating network or updating network software. As soon as they click accept, every single mailbox across the entire company looks just like this, completely encrypted. You cannot read anything in the inbox other than who that email is from. So you can see it's a real legit email from somebody you've been corresponding with, but you cannot even see what the correspondence is. And then there's one email in everybody's mailbox saying, this is how you can protect my network, or this is how you pay us in ransomware, and you can get that data back. That is what Ransom Cloud is, and there's actually a video if anybody wants to check it out. It's on the website, but more importantly, just reach out to WAMS and they can share the video with you. That's actually Kevin Mitnick. We hired him to come to the Datto office and do a demonstration of how easy it is for him to hack into Office 365 specifically and spread ransomware. And this video is all of 5 minutes long. That's how fast he's able to do it. That's how fast he's able to break into Microsoft data centers. So that's another risk that is out there, and I just want people to be aware, just because you're using SaaS applications and that data is not actually living within your walls doesn't make it any less vulnerable. And the bells and whistles on this, it's simple and easy setup for WAM, but most importantly, it's unlimited storage, and we can scale to networks of any size. So let's go back. I mentioned the words recovery time objective and recovery point objective, RTO and RPO. I have a way of further explaining that will help. So again, pictures guy. Here's your disaster. Something bad happens and you are no longer able to access your network. Your recovery point objective, both of these are time. Your recovery point objective is backwards in time. How far back am I willing to go when I go to restore? Basically, what's your last backup point? Because you're saying, I'm willing to lose that much data. If you're only backing up your network twice a day, you're saying, I'm willing to lose a half day's worth of data. I can go back, I can recreate that. We have a paper trail, we can re-key information in if need be, but your RPO is going backwards in time. How much data are you willing to lose? Our TO, recovery time objective, is saying, how long can I be without my network? So how much downtime can I experience before I start becoming concerned about the business and whether we will continue to be in business in the coming months? So that's what RPO and RTO is. And in knowing that, what we have is a downtime cost calculator. And I'll walk through this for you real quick. It's simple and easy. And in less than 5 minutes, you can calculate, you can estimate what downtime costs your specific business and your specific network. There's only 10 questions, and so we can quickly go through this. The first one is about RTO and RPO. Again, this is time. So how far backwards in time and how long are you willing to be without your data? And you can change this. You can do this and go back and edit it. But are you willing to go back and lose 3 days worth of data, 12 hours worth of data, 2 hours worth of data? And then how many hours of work are you willing to lose and repeat? And you fill in values for that. And then you look at the data. How much data is on my network? How often am I backing up this data? How long does it take to initiate your recovery process? If you go down right now, how long until we can get somebody on site looking at your network and starting to restore things? You have to take that into account, especially if you're in a rural area. It may be a couple hours before somebody can even be on site resolving your issues. And then lastly is, where do you currently store your backups? Are they on a local device or are they in a data center somewhere? I will warn you, if the only place that your data lives is in the cloud and you're restoring from that, these numbers skyrocket because it does take into account the amount of data you have and the max transfer speeds of that data. Data can only move so fast, and so this calculator takes that into account. The more data you have, the longer it's going to take to transfer that from your data center. And then step 3 is about your business itself. How many employees are affected by this outage? What's their average annual salary? From the lowest paid to the highest paid, what's the average between that? And then what's the average annual overhead cost per employee? A lot of people may not know this, and it's pretty easy to estimate it. It's roughly half of your average wage. So roughly, if it's say $30 an hour is your average wage, $15 of every hour is going for your overhead cost. That's keeping on the lights, that's rent, that's benefits, insurance, all of that. And then what is your business's annual revenue? You can take that into account, saying, if I'm unproductive for days on end, how much money am I losing per day? All of this is calculated so that in the end, you can see exactly what's going on and how much downtime costs. And then not only that, this calculator will then show you, with a Datto Cirrus solution, with a Datto business continuity solution, if this is in place, how much data would, how much downtime would cost. So in this scenario, on a network that was fairly small, 2 terabytes of data, a handful of employees, $24,000 in this 6.5 hours of being down and recovering. That was saying, I go down, I have to wait about an hour or so for somebody to be on site, then I have to transfer all of this data. 6.5 hours of downtime is just under $25,000. With the Datto solution, we would say we could do it remotely and say, okay, your downtime is about 6 minutes. And because of that 6 minutes, downtime losses of $5,000. That takes into account that the time that it takes somebody to get there and making sure that everything is working as it should. That is exactly what this calculator does. Everyone that is listening in on this and joining us today has access to this. Contact WAMS and they can certainly help walk you through this. Total data protection, that is what we're doing together with WAMS. And how are we helping? The recovery and downtime cost calculator is yours. There's nothing to sign up for. There's no credit card required, nothing like that. It's absolutely free. We're using this just as a tool to help people understand truly what downtime costs their specific business. To get all of that, and even most importantly, a needs assessment, contact WAMS. They are the experts. They are the ones that are going in and have them just assess what your risks are today, what your current situation is today, and how they can go in with their services, with their solutions, and help mitigate as many of those risks as possible. All you have to do is send an email to sales@wamsinc.com. And with that, I would just like to move along to the questions portion of this. And first, I just want to thank you all for your time. And I should have mentioned this in the beginning of this, but there is and the ability to ask questions throughout. And some of you have already started asking questions, but there's a window within the GoToMeeting application where you can chat with us directly and ask us questions. And I see a couple of them populating right now. So I'll just start going through. First one. You mentioned 2 data centers. Where are these data centers? Great question. We do have bi-coastal data centers, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. And the East Coast is actually in Reading, Pennsylvania, and the West Coast is in Salt Lake City. The one in Reading, Pennsylvania is your primary. So that Datto appliance living on the network sends that data over to Pennsylvania, stores it there, and then our Pennsylvania data center, the entire data center, is replicated to Salt Lake City. I do want to be very clear that none of your data leaves the US borders. We have strategic data centers all throughout the world where all the data in the US lives in the US. It doesn't travel anywhere else. Some other solutions that are out there have multiple data centers all over the globe where a lot of them, you do not know where your data is. You have bits and pieces of your network in somewhere in Europe, another one might be in Asia, and then the technology marries that together. In ours, it's 2 data centers that never leaves these borders. If any of you joining us today have any global organizations out there and global offices, you have the choice of where you want that data to live. We have 2 data centers in Canada, a few data centers all throughout Europe, and a couple throughout the rest of the globe. Next question that comes in, what's the cost? Absolutely, I get that question all the time. This solution, the cost of it is, it's different for every single network. And what it is, it's all based on the size of your network. So what I always tell people, without an assessment, without having WAMS come in and do a little bit of a dig into what you guys have, I tell people it's roughly, for a small network, the cost of a cell phone on up to a few hundred or a few $1,000s, depending on if you have a lot of data. But yeah, it varies based on the size of it. And the beauty of our solution is that it's just a monthly investment that doesn't fluctuate. A lot of other solutions out there, it's all based on the actual amount of data you have. And if you go over the allotted storage, then your bills start getting higher and higher. That is not how Datto does it. It's essentially an unlimited amount of storage at one set price, so that it's a predictable investment for you as a company to say, I'm backing up my data, I have business continuity, it's going to cost me $200 a month. That is what the Datto solution is. Next question is, what can you back up? I should have mentioned that. Thanks for bringing that up. We back up any Windows operating system. So all of your servers, all of your workstations. We also have a Mac agent. We can back up your MacBooks. And we also have a Linux agent. If any of you are running any Linux workstations, we have an agent for that as well. So Windows, Mac, and Linux, all the same bells and whistles, all the same tools, all the same complete business continuity. And I think that about wraps up the question. I see somebody typing. That's just asking if they can get a recording of the presentation. Yes, there will be recordings available, and I always offer my slide decks as well. If anybody wants a copy of the slide deck, just let us know, and we can certainly send that over to you.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. That is all the time we have. So for those of you that have any additional questions, feel free to email them to info@wamsinc.com, and we will get back to you. Thank you, Eric, for a fantastic presentation and for sharing such great information with us. It's always really helpful. Even I learned some new things with these. And thank you again to everyone joining us today. And this actually concludes WAMS Webinar Wednesdays for 2019. We will be back in January, so keep an eye out for that invite, and we wish you all a safe and fun holiday season.